Hello friends, neighbors. John Lewis neighbor here, welcome to the Nook. And today we're talking a blended Scotch. The feature of today is this Turntable Bittersweet Symphony. Turntable came out with quite a splash like last year. All the YouTubers, especially in the UK, got these tasting packs and I was jealous. And now it's been in our market for a little bit, but I haven't been able to bring it home. This one I think is their nod to, heavy sherry influence on a number of their core blend or components in their blend. Now, this fully blended Scotch, so we're talking, it's mostly malt, but there's a good portion of North British grain in here. So we've got grain and malt, and they're emphasizing cask management, blending, and anytime I think blending, I think of what John Glaser started with Compass Box. These guys, I think, are the master of the blender, have been for many, many years. Now, this is all malt, and it's a little lighter at 43. You know what? Right away, these are both natural color. And I think even on this camera, you're going to see a difference here. Anyways, I'm going to talk mostly about Turntable and then a comparison with the story of the Spaniard from Compass Box. So if you have any Turntable, and specifically this Bittersweet Symphony, pour a bit. Come on back. 3, 4. Thanks for coming back. Today we're going to talk, this blended Scotch, this musically inspired blend by the Turntable Blending House. Specifically, this is Bittersweet Symphony. And Bittersweet Symphony, I think, is like really supposed to be dark sherry, and it sure is dark. Gordon and Ali have had a ton of experience. The Stevenson brothers, if I'm saying it wrong, have had a ton of experience in the industry. And, when they came together, I think they really wanted to highlight, good cask management or what blending can do, selecting casks across different distilleries and then re-racking or getting it done that way. The specifics here, I'll lay it down below, but I will say there's a fair amount of Craigellachie and Blarathel, and Balminic is the one I've been forgetting, and I know there's some North British grain in here. Oh, and with casks, I think they say on the back, but it's I'll put it down below. It's a mix of PX, Oloroso, and virgin oak. Now it's NAS, so variety of ages, probably the youngest is pretty young, or they'd mention the age on it. And as I said, it's a ton of PX Oloroso. This is natural color, non-chill filtered, 46%, and it is dark. So that's enough background for me. Let's just see what this looks like. Our noses and palate, and let's just see what it's like. It's first thoughts. I just opened it for you guys. Interesting. I get some dark and rich and pithy, but right away I also get some nutty, some actually almost a bitter walnut. Yeah, and a little bit of orange citrus, but also a little bit of acetone or something a little bit higher alcohol. I bet that'll settle out. I just opened this up with you guys. It hasn't rested long enough in the glass. I bet that high stuff is just going to disappear and I won't get it later on in the bottle. It's got some nice dark but sweet sherry notes, sweet berries. Back into that orange, back into that nut. And a little bit, I got a little bit of I know it's all sherry, but I got like a bourbon, like a bourbon oak. It's got to be that new oak, right? Yeah. It was not a bourbon oak. I know I was saying it wrong. A little bit of that American single malt where you got that new oak influence on a malt or a grain. Yeah, that's absolutely what it is. It's kind of a woodiness. All right, let's check this one out on the palate. Hope you have something in your glass. This is Bittersweet Symphony from Turntable. It's not just. I took a little bit of a hearty sip there, but I'm kind of glad because I did some chores earlier and I really needed to almost clean up my palate. And now I'm getting an interplay of darker Christmas spices, a little bit more cherry, a little bit more Christmas cake with those sweet brandied candies and cherries in there, a little bit of slivered nuts, and then that breadiness that holds that cake together. Surprisingly not as coating in the palate that I thought it would be. The new oak also can push just wildly in the back to almost like a pine. I think that's what I was getting when I said acetone. That's too dark. I mean, not dark, negative. This is starting really interesting. Now, I was expecting a little more fuel oil, a little more dark from Kagalaki, and maybe again I could tie it a little bit to that pine oak. Better try another sip and see what's going on. Sanja. Now, that bittersweet, I think, is a nod to maybe bittersweet chocolates. Now I'm getting some of that darker chocolates. Yeah, yeah, totally. So it took kind of that cleaning, not cleaning out, but that all over my palate, then talking a bit, getting some of that, it evaporates a bit, retro nasal, like I'm breathing out through my nose, and now I'm getting a little bit of those other things, some chocolates and bittersweet. A little bit, there is a tiny bit of sugary something in there. So some chocolates, some definite wood influence. Like I feel like right now I can definitely taste new oak, and it actually reminds me of a heavily sherried American single malt. Maybe, and the grain. What is the grain doing? I wish I had Sean Darkcloud. He can tell you everything about grain whiskey, and I'm just not there right now. Maybe that graininess. Actually, it's almost a bit of creamy on one edge of it, but then there's some bitterness into this. Overall, this is interesting. This is a first taste. Oh, and I'll tell you why I did it before we go over to the story of the Spaniard. The reason why I just cracked it open and really haven't spent time and having it let it open, and it's a neck pour, so don't judge anything I say by this, is just down the road here in St. Albert from me, it's $23 off or something like that. And I thought, I always tell you guys later, but right now it's on the shelf. And this bottle for that 20 plus, I can't remember exactly, but it's over $20 off, is just a really good deal for a quality blend. It's just drinking a little bit more savory and bitter and dark, which probably Bittersweet Symphony is what they're going for. Okay, bringing home a blend almost always makes me think of Compass Box. They were absolutely the first, blended malt, blended Scotch that I really gravitated towards, and I've had all of their entrance level blends, absolutely. And then friends of the channel often say, John, you need to drink some better Scotch, and they'll give me samples of some of their more expensive stuff. The story of the Spaniard often drops in sale. It's all malts, and it's something that I've reviewed before, I've talked about before, and it's interesting because last time I talked about this, there's some people that are saying, like, this is a nod, and it says right on it, like it's a nod to, Spanish wine. And it's wine, John. It's not sherry. And then you look at the breakdown sheet, and I'm like, first fill sherry, first fill sherry, first fill sherry, first fill sherry. Like, it's definitely a hugely sherry influenced blended malt, but there's no grain in it. I'll put it down below. Boy, I don't even remember now. I got it down here. So it's a lot of Macduff and Linkwood and Glenmurray and Middleton. And the Middleton one, 10% is first fill bourbon, but the rest, all three, like over 55%, is from first fill sherries. Now it's 43%, so I had to really try to clear my palate and get because this is obviously darker, meatier, that kind of stuff. Let's see what this is like though, the Spaniard, in comparison now on the nose. And it is so much lighter. Now I know it's 43, not 46, but it is raspberries and light berries. And this is like brandied cherries. Yep, this is lighter, more approachable, just like the color would say. Let's try this one, 43% story of the Spaniard on the palate. Very, very interesting. This is actually, in comparison, creamier. It's actually more coating on the palate, which they're both a non-chill filter, but I expected this one to be far more chewy. It is meaty, but it's a little bit thin and there's that edge of pine. Whereas this is smoother, maybe a bit more of that bourbon honey, that little bit more sweetness and toffee caramel. Gotta try another sip, Sancho? You know, whiskey is so interesting in contrast. I will tell you, I had, like, just opened this live with you guys, but I've had this within the last month, and I was thinking it's kind of bitter and not great and whatever. In comparison, because it is softer and rounder, sweeter, it's drinking like really easy right now, far easier than on its own. I gotta try this just once more. Final sip of Turntable Bittersweet Symphony. Cheers. There are a lot of flavors in here. I think some of the high sweetness comes from maybe that grain, a little bit of creaminess, but it's just not the same and creamy as the Spaniard. But it's playing into that bittersweet, and there are a lot of things going on. I can't wait to let it open up, let it air out, try it with a bit of water and see where it goes, because I do think there's a lot of layers going on. And right now, it's bold and it's said hello, but it's not. I'm not relaxing with it right now. I hope to very soon. Do I regret buying this? Not at all. Now, I got it for a great price, but I love the darkness. I love the transparency. I look forward to getting anything I can from Turntable, because I think they've got some vision about their character and what they want to put out, and I just really am drawn to that in whiskey. Have you had any Turntable? What do you think of the Bittersweet Symphony? Since we've talked about it today, what do you think of the story of the Spaniard? Either one, let me know down below. Hope you're having a great weekend.